Okay, so hello everyone and welcome back to yet another IDT session. Okay, we'll continue with the chapter supply. Okay, we have just started in the previous session. Okay, we have not yet discussed much, but yes, we'll have the discussion now. Correct. Now, whenever let's have a quick recap. What we did in the last session is that actually we try to understand that why actually supply has to be studied differently. Okay, or when I say that in the GST in the practical field as well as for your exam point of view. Okay, supply is one of the most important chapter because it is the charging. But it is the what I can say. It is the charging condition. It is the very basic thing. Okay, until and unless it's a supply, there will be no words of पुटिंग जीएसटी ऑन इट। ओके, जब तक किसी चीज को हम सप्लाई नहीं बोल पाएंगे ना, तब तक हम उस पर जीएसटी लगाने की बात ही नहीं कर सकते। आप समझ रहे हैं मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ? मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ, मैं ये नहीं बोल रहा आपको जीएसटी देना है। अरे जीएसटी लगेगा कि नहीं लगेगा वो बात की बात है, पहले आप देखिए कि ये सप्लाई है और उसी सप्लाई को सेक्शन 7 में डिफाइन किया गया है। ओके, नाउ सेक्शन 7 itself is a bigger section। ठीक है, बहुत सारे सब सेक्शंस हैं यहाँ पे। हम टोटल तीन शेड्यूल्स पढ़ेंगे। ओके, we'll go through 3 different schedules। okay now when we say that supply is so important to understand, then we really need to know what actually is a supply। correct, so section 7, okay, so section 7(1), okay, is the first section, and among them clause A says that supply includes all form of supply such as sale, barter, exchange, license, rental, lease, etc., made or agreed to be made for consideration by a person in the course or furtherance of business। correct, so here we actually see that what actually is supply. Okay, supply is not only sale. Okay, supply is not only exchange or barter. Okay, here different forms, okay, where actually person can take advantage or where actually person can sell their things off। ठीक है, आप देखिएगा कि हर चीज में कहीं ना एक एक राइट इन यूज या राइट ट्रांसफर हो रहा है, ऐसी चीजें ही है जिसको सप्लाई के डेफिनेशन में इंक्लूड किया गया। क्योंकि previously what used to happen, we have seen an example as well on manufacture। okay, there was a separate duty। okay, for excise the charging point was the chargeability was manufacturing। correct, so for CST or VAT it was sales। okay, for service tax it was service। correct, so multiple taxes had multiple charging points, okay, or chargeability। but here in GST, okay, as we call it one nation one tax, okay, so here it is only one condition is there on which, okay, on fulfillment of which GST liability will arise, that is only supply। okay, remember the section supply is all about section 7। now section 7(1)(a) clearly says that supply does not only means to sale। okay, here barter, exchange, license, rental, lease, disposal, etc., made or agreed to be made, either you have made it or you have committed to made it। okay, means as accrual as well for a consideration has to be there। okay, and one more important aspect is that in the course or furtherance of business। correct, now if you guys remember the 6 parameters, किसी को याद है 6 पैरामीटर कौन कौन से थे जो हमने पढ़े थे कि सप्लाई होने के लिए 6
यस
पैरामीटर
सर।
होने चाहिए?
यस सर, याद है सर।
कहिए, कोशिश करिए।
पहला पहला है सर, वो इसमें रहेगा बिजनेस। अब ये सर्विस गुड्स रहेगा, सर्विस होना चाहिए, गुड्स होना चाहिए, रेदर देन और नथिंग। ठीक है। दूसरा हो गया सर आपका बिजनेस पर्पज से होना चाहिए। तीसरा हो गया सर कंसिडरेशन होना चाहिए। चौथा हो गया सर ट्रिपल टी होना चाहिए। ट्रिपल टी डेट मीन्स की टैक्सेबल होना चाहिए, टैक्सेबल पर्सन होना चाहिए और टैक्स पेयर के लिए होना चाहिए गुड्स।
ठीक है, गलत थी। करेक्ट, सो so the 6 parameters were: first, the supply should be of goods or service. Anything other than goods or service will not be called as supply। then it was that it should be for consideration। okay, then it should be in the course or furtherance of business। correct, then it should be made by a taxable person। okay, and the supply should be of taxable item। and it should be within the taxable territory. Correct. So these were the 6 parameters. Always do remember this. अगर ये 6 पैरामीटर याद रहेंगे ना तो आपको आगे चल के सप्लाई डिटरमाइन करने में दिक्कत कम होगी. करेक्ट. तो सेक्शन 7(1)(a) हमने पिछले दिन ही पढ़ लिया था. वी हैव गॉन थ्रू दैट इन द लास्ट डे, which actually defined what actually supply all or what other things do fall under supply. Okay. हमने एग्जांपल्स भी काफी सारे इनके पढ़े थे, क्या होता है क्या नहीं होता, हमने इसके बारे में पढ़ा था. करेक्ट. 7(1)(b) is what we have also done, import of service for consideration whether or not in the course or furtherance of business. Okay, so here there, अभी हम ऊपर जो पैरामीटर पढ़ के आ रहे थे ना, तभी ये चीज लिखा हुआ था कि फर्दरेंस ऑफ बिजनेस होना चाहिए. करेक्ट. बिजनेस में ये चीजें होनी चाहिए, लेकिन ठीक बाद ही वाले पॉइंट में ना एक एक्सेप्शन निकल के आता है जाके सिर्फ एक ही चीज की बात करता है. इफ ओके, हियर while reading the parameters, okay, we talked about that what actually should be that it should be for the, it should be in the course or furtherance of business. Correct. It should be in the business purpose. Like the example I gave, that today if I sold my household chair or household furniture, it won't attract any GST liability. Why so? Because it is not for the business purpose. Correct. Archana, we have just started. Okay, and here only exceptions do arise, which says that it should not be in the course or furtherance of business. Okay, but consideration should be there. And what is that one thing which will be considered as supply if there is no if it is made even for the personal purpose, it is import of service. Correct. We read that. Now, okay, now if you see that only import of service is covered. Okay, then what about import of goods? Import of goods is always on custom duty. Correct. The customs part which is there in our syllabus, customs is all about goods. Correct. But if there is service for consideration, maybe or may not be for business purpose, that means if you have imported services for your personal purpose and well as well, in that case as well, it will be considered as supply and GST liability will arise. Correct. The next section is what we are going to start today, is section 7(1)(c), which says that activities. Okay, 7(1)(c) is nothing but it is schedule 1. Okay, it is the first schedule. Activities specified in schedule 1 made or agreed to be made without consideration. See, at the top we got where it may be or may not be for business purpose. Correct. Because we know consideration and business are two important parameters for determining supply. So the first exemption toward the business is that import of service. Now there is a schedule 1 where there are 4 things. Okay, there are actually 4 entries, 4 paras, you can call it by any name, which if even made without consideration, then also it will be considered as supply. Correct. That much is clear. Okay. So 7(1)(c) is nothing but schedule 1. Okay, it is the schedule 1. It is the first schedule which says that even if those activities which are specified, even if made without consideration, then also it will be assumed to be supply. Correct. Now you can ask, don't ask this question, sir, business to nahi likha. Correct. Nowhere it's written that it should be made in the business. But when we read these 4 points, na, it will automatically come into our mind that yes, they are talking about for businesses only. Okay, so the first point to comes is that permanent, okay, remember, permanent disposal or transfer of business asset on which ITC has been availed. Okay, so to understand this point now, we have to first understand that how this input tax credit works. Okay, if you remember in the first session as well, we have discussed, but today I'll try to go a bit more deeper. Okay. Input tax. Okay, we are going to learn how this mechanism works. After this, we'll go to again entry 1. There we'll get the idea why actually they are saying this. Okay. Actually, suppose Okay, I'm mentioning two transactions together. Okay, here is Mr. A is selling to Mr. B, and here the same Mr. B is selling to Mr. C. Okay, so here he is the seller, he is the buyer, and again he is the seller and he is the buyer. Okay, keep your full attention over here. Okay, right now forget everything. 10-15 minutes you should be with me. Okay, so what actually is happening? Mr. A is selling goods to Mr. B. Okay, I'm saying say first it is a goods, okay, which is costing rupees 10,000. Okay, costing rupees 10,000. So what Mr. A will do? Mr. A will transfer the goods to B. Mr. B will transfer the amount to Mr. A. Correct. Along with that, what Mr. A will do? Mr. A will issue an invoice to. Correct. Invoice has to be there. So suppose okay. Now suppose this is the invoice. Okay. So suppose here is the particulars, here is the amount. Okay, a general format of invoice that we all have seen in our life. At least one is in our life. So what we will do, say for here is the goods, correct. It is costing 10,000 rupees. Okay, along with that, what we will do, suppose it is a, okay, they both are in same state. Okay, let me write it somewhere. Okay, he is in state 1, Mr. B is also in state 1. Okay, state 1 means they both are in common state. So what he will write, he will क्या charge करेगा? What he will charge if Mr. B is also in same state?
GST,
GST.
Yes, everyone agree? Everyone has the
Agree,
same
sir.
answer?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
So he will charge CGST and SGST. Now suppose for example it is 9% and it is also 9%. Correct. So 9,000 here and 9,000 here. So what total he is going to charge?
11,800.
11,800.
900, no, 9%, 9%.
900.
Aha, 900, sorry. $900, it will be 11,800. Correct. So this is what? This is the amount which Mr. A will charge from Mr. B. Correct. So I may change. So here I've said only goods amount. Okay. Don't say that, sir, वो तो 10,000 का ही था. Correct. Here just it is the goods amount. And after adding the taxes, so what actually is happening is 11,800 is charging from Mr. B. Correct. Now let's go through the story after the sale. What after the sale will happen? Mr. A will correct. This
Yes, sir.
1,800 will be deposited. करेक्ट बाय मिस्टर ये इस पैसे को ये गवर्नमेंट के पास जमा करेगा. गवर्नमेंट देखिए ये मैंने टैक्स कलेक्ट किया और ये रहा. करेक्ट. नाउ सी व्हेन मिस्टर बी इज सेलिंग टू सी. करेक्ट. Let's say suppose for example it is the same good. Okay, say he has done 20% value addition. Correct. If that 20% value addition, so at what amount the goods will be? 12,000.
12,000.
Correct. क्योंकि on what he will add the value? On product
2,000.
cost. Correct. He will add the value on product cost, not on 11,800. Is that clear to everybody or not? The first step.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Clear, sir. Clear. 20% increase on the base value.
Correct. On the product, not on taxes.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
So now Mr. B, now suppose for example, again they are in same state. Okay, I'll not confuse you right now by giving different states. Okay. Or let's say I'll not discuss further. So let's say he is in state 2. Now they are in two different states. Correct. So let's draw invoice for them as well. Correct. So here what will be the, here is the particular and here is the amount. Okay, let's keep it state 1 only. Okay, otherwise you'll get confused. Okay, so what is the goods price here now? It is 12,000. Correct. What he will charge?
2160.
नहीं, मतलब क्या चार्ज करेगा? CGST
IGST.
नहीं, एक ही स्टेट में, they both are in same state.
Same state. CGST or
GST and
SGST.
Correct. CGST plus SGST. Let's keep the tax rate equal. So what it will be? 9%.
2160.
2160.
1080.
नहीं sorry 2160 का दो बार 2160 divided by 2
Sir,
1080 1080
80. So it will become
2160.
yes. Come up again.
2160. It is a
14,160.
or 14,160 all.
Correct. So what he will do now? This is the charge which he will charge from Mr. C. Correct. Now, as per your logic, what will be the next step? Guide me. After the sales, what will be the next step? Anyone guide me? Keep this
For
to similar.
input sir. For input.
नहीं, नॉर्मल, अभी इनपुट पे नहीं जाते. नॉर्मली क्या करेगा मिस्टर बी?
Pay GST to the government.
करेक्ट. विल डिपॉजिट. What is the total amount? 2160. Correct.
Yes, sir.
Correct. This is what we know. Correct. This is what should happen and this what's happened. Correct. But the story changes over here. Okay. This is a wrong statement. What Mr. B will say to the government? Mr. B will say, government, while I was buying the product now, I paid 1800 on this 10,000 product. This 1800 now I have already paid to Mr. A and Mr. A has deposited it to you. Correct. I have already paid these taxes. So why again I'll pay that tax? Because this 9% is on 12,000. Correct. In this 12,000 there are two parts. One is 10,000 and one is 2,000. For 10,000 he has already paid taxes of 1800 to Mr. A. Yes,
sir.
everybody. Correct.
Yes.
And this is what input tax system is all about. Okay. So what Mr. B will do now? Mr. B, okay, what I'm doing?
Is the rest of taxes to the government.
Correct. Calculation of tax
मतलब 2160 में सर 1800 रुपया उसको इनपुट मिल गया,
to be
360
paid
देना
by
पड़ेगा.
Mr. B. Okay, we are doing calculation of taxes to be paid by Mr. B. So his outward tax liability
360.
No. Outward tax liability
2160.
2160.
They have to be muted, I guess. Some sound is coming.
Okay. And what he has on its credit?
1800
1800.
Okay. This is only we call it input
tax rate.
tax credit. Means the amount of tax which he has paid on his inward supply. Correct. So what is he has paid already? 1800.
1800.
What is the balance left now? 360.
360.
360.
So this is the amount of tax to be paid. Amount of tax to be paid. Is this much clear to everybody? What actually happened? Now when Mr. Now suppose for an example, if Mr. C will deposit it, will sold further. So what he will do? He will take this 2116 credit and whatever rest taxes will be coming, he'll deposit it to the government. Correct, everybody? You are with me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that is what input tax credit is all about. Okay. Yes, when we'll grow up a more. Okay, we'll go to the input tax credit chapter. We'll see that there are different rules for that. Okay, there are some goods on which ITC is blocked. There are some product on which conditional ITC is there. Okay, there will be some conditions on fulfillment of which you will get ITC. Otherwise, you won't get it. Okay, sir, ये जो credit. Okay, sir, this credit which we are taking, how long can we take it? Correct. These all can be your questions, but don't worry. We'll discuss this as the times comes. Correct. Now see. Now come to this point, entry 1. Now read it again. Permanent disposal or transfer of business asset on which ITC has been availed. ITC have been availed means
Sir,
जो अभी
all
बताया 1800
ITC.
correct. Now suppose for example, take this example. Okay, change the goods with machinery. Okay, or let's do one thing. Let's do one thing. Let's say whom to pick up today. Who will be our businessman today? Okay. Okay. Now suppose, okay, Priyank, it is not a name, it is a company. Okay. Okay. So what happened? Say she purchased a machinery. I'm writing M1, okay, for 10 lakh rupees. Okay, and paid, say for example, 18,000 GST. Correct. On purchase of her machinery, she had paid 18,000 GST. Just an imaginary figure. Okay, I haven't yet calculated what actually has to be done. So what she is doing? She is bringing it into her business. Correct. She is bringing it into her business. Now what she will do? She will produce some article. Say she has produced product 1, product 2, and product 3. Correct. And what she will do after the production? She will sell it. Correct. Now suppose for an example, we will just take product 1 for our example. Now suppose for an example, on sale of product 1, she has received 20 lakhs amount of product. Okay, and she has also received, say for example, okay, let's say 1 lakh GST. Correct. So this 1 lakh has to be deposited by her to the government. Yes. Correct. But do you think she will deposit 1 lakh completely to the government?
No, sir.
Why no?
सर नो बिकॉज क्योंकि ऊपर
Correct. Correct. So on purchase, whatever GST she had paid, she will claim that in ITC. Correct. So from here, she will claim the ITC of 18,000. Correct. And whatever amount is coming, she will deposit it to the government. Is this much story clear to everybody? Correct. So what happened?
Yes, sir.
Say for example, 2 years passed. Okay. 2+ years passed. Now after this, what actually happened? Okay, her company is into the charities. Correct. So what she did? Okay. Now this machinery, she is giving it for charity. Correct. Now when she is doing it for charity, that means definitely she is not going to charge anything. Yes. Correct. So suppose now when GST department asks her that you have sold this machinery, where is the tax for that? Correct. What will be her reply? बताइए प्रियंका, आपका रिप्लाई क्या होगा अगर गवर्नमेंट आपसे आके आप ये चैरिटी कर रही है, 0 रुपीज में आप इसको डिस्पोज कर रही है, चैरिटी में दे रही है, अगर आपसे गवर्नमेंट आके टैक्स मांगता है तो आप क्या बोलेंगे? व्हाट यू विल से टू द गवर्नमेंट? मैं बोलूं आपके तरफ से?
मैं बोलूं सर?
बोलिए।
Sir, for charity, I thought so some part will be exempted.
अरे नहीं, वो क्या एग्जाम्प्ट है क्या नहीं, वो बात की बात। आप क्या बोलेंगे गवर्नमेंट को?
सर
कोई भी
चैरिटी
बोले,
में दे रहे हैं तो
करेक्ट।
उसमें
चैरिटी से
जीएसटी
बड़ी
लगेगी
बात,
ना।
चैरिटी से बड़ी बात आप क्या बोलेंगे कि मैं इसमें कोई इनकम थोड़ी ना कर रहा हूं, मैं तो बिना पैसे के
हाँ,
दे रहा हूं, मैं सेल करती तो मैं टैक्स देती। करेक्ट। सो व्हाट आई,
चैरिटी में भी करे इसलिए नहीं
correct.
करे।
So what I asked her is that suppose after this event, okay, that she has donated it to the charity for none, okay, for nil, okay, she has just donated. Now when GST
नॉट
department
फॉर
will,
बिजनेस पर्पस।
पेमेंट पेमेंट देना पड़ेगा सर, गवर्नमेंट को पेमेंट देना पड़ेगा। बिकॉज क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट बोलेगी कि आप जिस समय परचेज किए थे तो आईटीसी आप ले लिए थे,
रुक
तो
जाइए
जब
वहां
आईटीसी
तक,
वन टाइम ले
उस
लिए थे।
उस पॉइंट पे अभी मत आइए, अभी रुक जाइए, आपको पता है लेकिन हो सकता है किसी को नहीं। रुक जाइए। So what actually will happen? So if department comes to Priyanka and asks for GST, so what she will say? She will say that, sir, see, I have sold it for 0 rupees. Correct. I haven't yet earned anything. Correct. And it is not my business activity as well. Correct. She will say that. But what government will say? Government will say her. Do you remember Shivam sir? Do you remember section 7(1)(c)? She will say yes. Then government will ask, have you read schedule 1? She will say yes. Then government will say, have you read entry 1 over there? Okay, now she will say, what entry 1, sir? I do not remember. So what entry 1 now says? See, permanent disposal or transfer of business asset on which ITC has been availed. Correct. No matter what you are doing, but on this purchase, okay, on this purchase, okay, 18,000 input tax credit, that means benefit of 18,000 you have already taken from your outward tax liability of 1 lakh. Correct. You have all, sorry. So what actually has happened, that though she is not selling it for any cash, but she has already taken a advantage of this 18,000 GST which she has paid on purchase. So what she has done, she had availed the input tax credit. Yes. You are getting my point, what I am saying right now?
यस सर।
Correct. So this is what has been written, that if if there is permanent disposal or transfer of business asset, that was our business asset, correct, that machinery on which ITC has been availed. Yes, she has also taken the ITC of 18,000, but it is without consideration, correct? This is without consideration. But
Yes,
then
sir.
also it has to be treated as supply. So what government will say, okay, there are some further proceedings, but right now I'll say you, okay, in a very brief way, that whatever value of machinery she has sold, whatever the market value is there, on that, whatever rate of GST is there, she has to pay the GST to the government. Okay? आप ठीक बोल रहे थे मनोज, आप कुछ गलत नहीं बोल रहे थे, लेकिन ऐसा होता ना कि किसी को नहीं पता हो तो वो सुनेगा तो वो कहेगा अरे क्या हो गया अचानक से, ठीक है, और कुछ। This point is clear to everybody, correct? Let me see whether is there any example there.
Sir, in short, what we can tell that,
In short, what we can say, किसके बारे में? What?
sir, all those that charity about that consideration.
नहीं समझ पा रहा मैं आपका क्वेश्चन ही नहीं समझ पा रहा हूँ।
Sir, I'm asking that because all of this, in short, what we can tell in 1 or 2 lines.
In
That
short, it is,
according to schedule 1.
yes, according to schedule 1, okay, if there has been a permanent disposal or transfer of business asset, condition is there on which ITC has been availed. Correct. Now, if I change the question, I say that this 18,000 benefit has not been booked by Priyanka over here. Correct. Now, if she does the charity, then there is no GST. Correct. Why GST attracted? Just because she has taken credit of 18,000. That was the only reason for attracting tax to that. Other than that, if she has not availed this input tax credit, then in that case, this would have been considered as charity only and no taxes would have been levied on her. Yes?
Okay, sir.
Correct.
सर इसमें क्वेश्चन है, जैसे आपने 18,000 उसमें इनपुट लगा, मतलब जीएसटी लगाया, जैसे पीछे से ही लग के नहीं आ रहा है जीएसटी, मतलब पीछे से भी नील है, तब चैरिटी में नील हो जाएगा?
हाँ,
एग्जाम
लगा, जब पीछे लगा ही नहीं तो इनपुट टैक्स लेना नहीं है, जब इनपुट टैक्स लेंगे नहीं तो फिर टैक्स देंगे
मतलब कि जो मतलब जैसे मिस्टर ए है वो उसने भी चार्ज नहीं किया, मिस्टर बी ने भी फिर आगे किसी को मिस्टर सी को बेचा तो उसने भी
ऐसा।
फिर चार्ज
पहली
नहीं
बात तो
किया।
इतने नहीं, इतने बड़े चैनल में तो ये हो ही नहीं सकता।
नहीं हो सकता, पॉसिबल है,
नहीं, इतने
प्रैक्टिकली नहीं
इतने बड़े नहीं, इम्पॉसिबल नहीं बोलूंगा, होता है,
पॉसिबल।
लेकिन हम लॉ पढ़ रहे हैं तो फिर हम यही बोलेंगे कि इतने बड़े चैनल में तो हो ही नहीं सकता। होता क्या नहीं, होता तो सब कुछ। Okay, 7(1)(b it is. See, this is what we are reading. Schedule 1, activities to be treated as supply, even if made without consideration. The first point, permanent transfer or disposal of business asset where input tax credit has been availed on such assets. Okay, so this is the only condition. If input tax credit have been availed, then only. If not, then there's no such case. Okay, now let's read out these examples. Mrs. Z Limited upgrades the computer system. The existing computer and laptop which do not support the upgraded version, okay, donated to a trust. This amounts to permanent transfer of business asset. The same will be treated as supply of good and liable to GST in the hands of Z Limited, provided if company availed input tax credit on such computers and laptops. Correct? It is clear to everybody? What actually they have said that
Yes.
GST liability
sir.
will arise if they have taken the input tax credit. If not, then no such case. Next example, Messrs. Sankar Private Limited, being a trader in clothes, permanently transfers 50 of its stocks to a society free of cost. Correct? Now, so what it will be? It is a permanent transfer of business asset or stock. Correct. Condition will be that if input tax credit have been availed, then GST will arise. If not, then not. Correct? In this case, transfer of business stock would amount to supply if the company had availed ITC on purchase of goods. If you have any doubt, do ask it. Okay.
सर एग्जामिनेशन में एग्जाम्पल जो है ये क्वेश्चन ही है ना सर, क्वेश्चन है ये?
नहीं, इतना आसान तो नहीं आना चाहिए मेरे हिसाब से। ये आपसे थोड़ी ना पूछेगा इतना जीएसटी पढ़ाने के बाद। आप पूछ ले तो अच्छी बात है, ये तो समझने के लिए है कि आप समझ लीजिए एक्चुअली में हम क्या कहना चाह रहे हैं।
अच्छा।
मैं लाऊंगा, मैं एग्जाम के क्वेश्चंस उठा के लाऊंगा तो आप लोग समझ जाएंगे। Okay, next example, Mr. Das purchased a car for personal use and after a year sold it to a car dealer for 2 lakh rupees. Will the transaction be supply in terms of GST? Yes. Reply.
So this is not a supply because it is not a business.
Correct. Here it is Mr. Das, not a Das Limited or Mrs. Das. Correct. He's not a company, he's a personal individual. Correct. So it will not attract any GST liability. Okay, next one. Mr. Rahim purchased a car for business use and after 2 years transferred car for personal consumption to use at home. Will this transaction be supply in terms of GST Act? Note, ITC not availed by Mr. Rahim.
So this will also not be supply because he had used for personal consumption at use.
लेकिन पहले तो बिजनेस का था ना,
फिर
सर,
बाद में सर पर्सनल के लिए कर दिया
पर्सनल के लिए
personal
था,
के
और
लिए
साथ
कर
में
दिया ना।
आईटीसी नहीं लिया वो।
ITC भी नहीं लिया। करेक्ट।
मैंने इसमें सर ये था कि आईटीसी उसने नहीं लिया।
Yes, correct. That was the main point, that ITC has not yet been availed.
आईटीसी नहीं लिया।
Correct. Okay, next one.
सर
Mrs.
जहाँ
M.
पर्सनल लग गया वहां तो आईटीसी का कोई मतलब ही नहीं, इस कीवर्ड को याद रखने ज्यादा अच्छा है।
Correct.
सबसे अच्छा।
Example, next example, Mrs. M and Company, a sole proprietor, is in the business of selling furniture. Its owner took a set of furniture to furnish his house permanently. Will the transaction be a supply in terms of CGST? Note, ITC on such furniture is not available.
In this also not.
In this also not, correct? Because it is not in the course or furtherance of business. Correct. Here, ITC part will not play any important role. Okay, the next one. Messrs. T Limited is in the business of hotel. He purchased AC for business purpose, and after 2 years, he transferred the AC to director without consideration. Will the transaction be supply in terms of GST Act, AC machines on which ITC has been availed?
Yes, sir, this will
ITC.
attract.
Correct. GST will attract. It will be supply.
It will be a
Correct. Okay. So in first schedule, the entry 1 is clear to us that if there has been permanent transfer or disposal of business asset on which ITC has been availed, then it will be considered as a supply if made without consider, because dispose of or transfer is the word we use when we do not charge any consideration. Correct. Okay. Now this point is clear to everyone, correct? I can move on to the next one.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next one. Supply of goods or services or both between related person or between distinct person in the course or furtherance of business. Okay. A related person and distinct person. Okay. First, I'll explain you what actually is distinct person. Distinct person. Okay. What actually is a distinct person? First, we'll discuss that. Now, see, actually, what happens there? GST. Okay, there is something called registration. Okay, what actually is a registration? Registration is nothing but you enter into GST Act. You get registered with GST Act. Okay, so that you can now collect tax. Okay, so you can charge tax on your outward supply. You can claim ITC. You have to file returns monthly, quarterly, annually, whatever will be there. Okay, so registration has a certain threshold limit. Okay, like simply just I'm giving you overview. Okay, I'm not discussing a lot. 20 lakhs. Okay, somewhere it is 40 lakhs. Okay, so in some cases, if means monthly. Okay, not monthly, sorry. In the preceding financial year, if their turnover was more than 20 lakh or 40 lakh, then they need to get registered with GST. Okay, this is all we need to know about GST registration up to here. Now it has another rule. Suppose for an example, okay, there is A Limited. Correct? A Limited is in state of West Bengal. Or one in West Bengal, one in say Uttar Pradesh, one in Delhi, okay, one in Madhya Pradesh. Okay, so it has 4 different establishment or branches in 4 different states. Correct. Now suppose for an example, his turnover do exceeds 20 lakh. Correct. And there is a what I can say, there is one rule regarding this registration. It says that separate state, separate registration. Separate state, there will be separate registration. That means West Bengal Limited will be registered separately. Uttar Pradesh unit will be registered separately. Delhi will be registered separately, and Madhya Pradesh will also be registered separately. Okay, remember, okay, one thing remember, for registration now PAN number is definitely required. Correct. Now you can ask me that A Limited का owner तो A है. Correct. इसके पास तो एक he has only one PAN number. How will he get registered? Under the same PAN, registrations will be different. Okay, PAN will be same for all the registrations, but registrations will be different. So separate state, there is separate registration. Is this much clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Correct. Now, what is distinct person? Now, suppose for example, Mr. A from his West Bengal unit is sending some goods to Uttar Pradesh branch, in his own branch. correct? So as per if normally I say, okay, is it any sale? Is it a sale?
हाँ सर, सेल होगा।
सेल है, मतलब मैं अपनी एक वेस्ट बंगाल के यूनिट से उत्तर प्रदेश के वहां गोडाउन में माल भेज रहा हूँ, वहां कमी पड़ गई, इज दैट अ
No,
सेल?
sir, it is not a sale.
It is not a sale, correct, generally. But as per GST, okay, these entities of A Limited of Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal will be considered separate, and they are known as distinct person. And what is the law that we right now read? Let's read it half. Supply of goods or service, or both between distinct person in the course of furtherance of business, correct? So definitely here, whenever the transfer is happening, okay, it is for 0 rupees, no cost, correct? It is without consideration, it is the business, correct? And they are distinct persons, so it will be considered as supply and tax will be levied. Yes, are you confused right now? अरे सर टैक्स कैसे लगेगा?
लगेगा सर, स्टोरी
नहीं
का
लगेगा,
रजिस्ट्रेशन नंबर डिफरेंट है ना,
करेक्ट,
डिफरेंट है,
नहीं,
डिफरेंट
रजिस्ट्रेशन नंबर भी एक हद तक सेम होता है. What actually happens is that suppose A Limited, okay, Miss of West Bengal unit is transferring goods worth 10 lakh rupees to UP branch, correct? So definitely he is going to charge nothing because the both are his same entity. Okay, they both are his same entity, so he is going to charge nothing, correct? But as per GST law, it is a supply, correct? So what amount of goods is sending? Say 10 lakh rupees. Say for example 1 lakh rupees GST is there. So what he will do? This West Bengal department, okay, West Bengal department will deposit it to the government, correct? And it will be shown to the Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh sell that on purchase, because if they are assuming it to be a supply, correct? So for this Uttar Pradesh department, this is a purchase, and this 1 lakh he has paid as tax. So he will take ITC of it, and on its outward supply he will take the credit. तो इससे क्या हुआ? टैक्स दे के भी टैक्स नहीं दिए, करेक्ट, क्योंकि क्रेडिट तो मिलता जाएगा ना. विल अवेल द क्रेडिट फॉर दैट. यस, क्लियर टू एवरीवन? इफ नॉट, आई एम रेडी टू
सर
रिपीट.
एक बार फिर से बता दीजिए.
एक बार फिर से बताता हूँ. We are into the concept of distinct person. Distinct person is what? Okay, distinct person is nothing. GST has a law that for separate state, okay, there will be separate registration, and each separate registration, okay, both. So here the example A Limited has in West Bengal, had in Uttar Pradesh, but they both are differently registered, separately registered. So if any transaction between them happens, na, they are known as distinct person. Correct. A law says that if there have been supply of goods or services, okay, between distinct person in the course of furtherance of business, it will be deemed to be supply. So here the goods that was transferred of rupees 10 lakh to UP department will fall under GST. Suppose for example 1 lakh GST is there. So what UP department branch will do? They will take ITC of this 1 lakh, correct, and on their outward supply they will deduct this ITC, correct. So ये 1 लाख गवर्नमेंट को दे के भी यहाँ पे तो क्रेडिट मिल जाएगा. अल्टीमेटली गवर्नमेंट को हमने एक्स्ट्रा नहीं दिया, ठीक है. ऐसा नहीं आपको होना चाहिए, अरे सर बिना पैसे का भी खुद में ही किए तो टैक्स दे दी. कहाँ दिए? आप तो आईटीसी ले लोगे ना, उसका तो आपको आईटीसी तुरंत मिल जाएगा, तो आप दे कहाँ रहे हो, करेक्ट?
यस सर.
यस सर.
एवरीवन, if any
Yes,
doubt,
sir.
do ask. I'm ready.
एक सर डाउट है.
हाँ पूछिए.
वे 20 लाख और 40 लाख को लिमिट से सर वे कंसोलिडेटेड है कि एक बार में किसी ब्रांच को 20 लाख 40 लाख
उसके बारे में अपन बाद में डिस्कस करेंगे.
ठीक,
अभी डिस्कस नहीं, क्योंकि उसके लिए काफी सारी चीजें, एक टर्नओवर है, एक टैक्सेबल टर्नओवर है, बहुत सारी चीजें
इसमें सर.
उसको अभी
इसमें सर एक जो ब्रांच है, वेस्ट बंगाल ब्रांच है, अपने यूपी ब्रांच को कोई भी स्टॉक ट्रांसफर कर रही है तो वे जीएसटी लगा के भेजेगी उसके पास.
करेक्ट. अल्टीमेटली भेजेगी कुछ नहीं, लेकिन डिपार्टमेंट के लिए वो है तो वो 1 लाख रुपए जो मैंने बताया ना टैक्स बना है, वो वेस्ट बंगाल डिपार्टमेंट को, गवर्नमेंट को जमा करना पड़ेगा कि
करना
ये रहा
पड़ेगा,
आपने हाँ, कि आपने इसको सप्लाई समझा तो लीजिए मैंने बेचा, 1 लाख का टैक्स है, आप जमा करिए। और यूपी ब्रांच क्या करेगी, ऐसा दिखाएगी कि मैंने 10 लाख का गुड खरीदा और 1 लाख का टैक्स दिया। तो यूपी ब्रांच जब आगे उसको सेल करेगी तो उसमें से आईटीसी ले लेगी।
यूपी यूपी ब्रांच, हाँ यूपी ब्रांच जो है किसी और ब्रांच को सेल नहीं करके वे अपने डीलर को सेल किया, वे कस्टमर को सेल किया, तो फिर वहां से सर करेगा।
हाँ, तो वहीं से ले लेगा, कहीं जहां भी बेचेगा टैक्स तो लेगा ना, और जो टैक्स लेगा उसमें से 1 लाख का इनपुट टैक्स रेट ले लेगा, हो जाएगा कम।
ठीक,
करेक्ट
करेक्ट करेक्ट।
टू एवरीवन?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now the second, there was one more point, that is related person. Okay, now related person has a full-fledged definition. What the definitions are? What are related person? Officers or directors in one another business. Correct. So suppose for an example, Priyanka is director in my office, in my business. Okay, and Priyanka has her own business as well, where Sumit is her director. Correct. So indirectly, I and Sumit will also be a related person. Officers or directors in one another business. Okay. Second one, legally recognized partner. Okay, we have a partnership firm where two partners are there, so they are legally recognized. So any transaction between them will fall under related person definition. Okay. Employer employee are also covered under related person, but it is out of GST. Okay. Employee-employer relationship is always out of GST. Correct. But yes, there is one point, that if the employer gives up to 50,000 to the employee, okay, if employer gives gift and all, okay, I don't think gift के बारे में मुझे ज़्यादा बात करनी होगी. Okay, if the gift is up to 50,000 in a financial year, then it is exempt. But if it is more than 50,000, then that will attract GST. Correct. But employer-employee relationship is out of purview of GST. Only the gift portion is there, and it also has only one condition, that up to 50,000 it is exempt. More than 50,000 it will be taxable. Correct. Third person holds 25% of voting, means that substantial interest. Okay. One of them controls the others, that means holding and subsidiary are considered to be related person. Third person controls both of them. So suppose for example, there are subsidiary 1 and subsidiary 2. Correct. I have two subsidiaries. So both the subsidiaries will be considered as related person. Means I am the third person and I am controlling my both the subsidiaries. Correct. So my both the subsidiaries, if they do any transaction between them, it will be treated as related person. सिंपल सी बात है ना, ये तो पकड़ना ही पड़ेगा, नहीं तो मैं अपनी सब्सिडी दो सब्सिडी बना के बीच में ट्रांजेक्शन करता रहूं, पकड़ने वाला कोई नहीं. लेकिन इस लॉ की वजह से वो भी पकड़ में आ गया. ठीक है, आगे बढ़ते. Such person together controls third person. Best example is joint venture. Joint venture में जितने भी मेंबर होंगे आपस में रिलेटेड माने जाएंगे. Okay. Members of the same family are considered to be related, and in family who are included spouse and children. Okay, and will include parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters who are wholly or mainly dependent. अगर इंडिपेंडेंट है तो नहीं आएंगे, बीवी बच्चे तो हमेशा आएंगे उसके अलावा. ओके, और अगर डिपेंडेंट है तो आएंगे, नहीं है तो नहीं आएंगे. करेक्ट. One of them is sole agent or sole distributor of other. Correct. Now suppose for an example, I have a business. Okay, now for the whole UP na, I have one sole agent. I have appointed one sole agent. So me and the sole agent both will be treated as related. And if we trade anything for free of cost between us, then it will be treated as supply and liable to GST. Clear है क्या?
Yes, sir.
Okay, here the thing, एक second. The things which I have ticked ना, I have ticked it. These all are only important. Rather than that, आप एक बार पढ़ लीजिए, उतना important नहीं है. लेकिन जो मैंने टिक लगाया वो अब important है आपके लिए. पूछिए सुमित.
सर ये फैमिली वाला एक बार दोबारा बताइए।
फैमिली में बीवी बच्चे, ओके, उसके अलावा पेरेंट्स, ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स, ब्रदर सिस्टर, अगर वो डिपेंडेंट है तो। आप पे डिपेंडेंट है तभी, अगर इंडिपेंडेंट है तो नहीं आएंगे।
मतलब कि ये रिलेटेड में आएंगे, बीवी बच्चे तो आएंगे ही आएंगे, और
आएंगे आएंगे,
पेरेंट्स
हाँ।
ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स, और अगर वो डिपेंडेंट है तो तब वो रिलेटेड पर्सन के कैटेगरी में आएंगे।
करेक्ट, नहीं तो नहीं।
अच्छा, इसके ऊपर आप जितना बताया, क्या उसको ये कह सकते हैं कि ब्लड ब्लड रिलेशन को हटा के जो भी बिजनेस रिलेटेड पर्सन है हमारे बिजनेस से, ये डायरेक्ट या
नहीं
इनडायरेक्ट
नहीं
वो
नहीं
रिलेटेड में?
नहीं नहीं नहीं।
नहीं।
करेक्ट। सो now we are onto schedule 1 and now we have done 2 entries. What are those 2? पहला क्या था? Permanent disposal or transfer of business asset on which ITC has been availed. Second one was supply of goods or service or both between related person or distinct person in the course or furtherance of business. Clear है ना? It is clear up to point. Second point, para 2, entry 2.
सर एक चीज
Yes,
बताइए,
sir.
ये परमानेंट डिस्पोजल का अगर समझा जाए तो क्या ये सेल को ही कहते हैं?
नहीं, सेल होगा तो फिर तो कोई टेंशन ही नहीं।
ये परमानेंट डिस्पोजल मतलब जस्ट
डिस्पोजल
लाइक
डिस्पोजल मैंने पिछले सेशन में बताया था।
वो तब
डिस्पोजल
वो
में
डिस्पोजल याद है हमको, मगर इससे
वही
परमानेंट
डिस्पोजल।
ऐड हुआ है ना, सेम चीज है।
हम्म, पूछिए, फिर से पूछिए।
नहीं, वो डिस्पोजल आपने लास्ट टाइम बताया था ना कि कोई भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन
हाँ, जब बंद होती है तब डिस्पोजल।
डिमोलिश हो रही है, तब उसके जो एसेट है उसको खत्म करते हैं, चाहे बेचते हैं, जो भी करते हैं, वो डिस्पोजल
हम्म
की कैटेगरी में आते
हम्म
हैं। मगर इस बार ऐड है परमानेंट डिस्पोजल।
मतलब हमेशा के लिए आप डिस्पोज, एक ही बात है ना, डिस्पोज करो चाहे
एक ही बात।
परमानेंट डिस्पोज करो। हाँ,
ठीक।
आप किसी को कंडीशन पे दे रहे 2 साल बाद रिटर्न ले लूंगा, तो फिर उसमें तो जीएसटी की बात ही नहीं आती। फिर तो वो रेंटिंग में चला जाता है, फिर तो वो सप्लाई में आ जाता है। करेक्ट। So these are the 2 entries we have done right till now. Now we move on to the third one. Supply of goods from principal to agent, where agent undertakes to supply such goods on behalf of the principal. ये पढ़ के कुछ और लगेगा लेकिन इसका मतलब कुछ और निकलेगा। ओके, होल्ड योर ब्रेथ। Supply of goods from principal to agent, where agent undertakes to supply such goods on behalf of principal, and from agent to principal means from principal to agent or from agent to principal, where agent undertake to receive such goods on behalf of principal. क्या बोलना चाह रहा है? What actually it is trying to see? Now suppose this is a principal in state 1 and he has an agent in state 2. Okay. In state 2. Correct. Now what actually it is saying? Now suppose for an example, principal is sending goods worth rupees 1 lakh to A. Correct. Now A can do 2 things. One is that both are related to invoice. Okay. The first invoice is principal's invoice. Principal's invoice. Okay. Principal's invoice means इसी ने इनवॉइस भेजा हुआ था उसको कि ये लो, मैं ऑलरेडी बिल काट के दे रहा हूं आपको, मेरा सिग्नेचर है, सब कुछ, आप जब बेचना आप लिख लिख के बेच देना। करेक्ट। और सेकंड वन कैन बी एजेंट्स ओन इनवॉइस। करेक्ट। नाउ ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ प्रिंसिपल कौन सा आता होगा बताइए?
एजेंट
So
को ही
that is
बोलते हैं हम।
agent's invoice.
A is invoice. This is on behalf of principal. On behalf of principal. This is what I was talking about. तो क्या समझ में आया? सम अप करिए।
सर इसमें ये समझ में आ रहा है कि इसमें प्रिंसिपल से रिलेटेड नहीं, प्रिंसिपल और एजेंट वाला ही था। उसके बाद एजेंट के भी सॉरी प्रिंसिपल के भी आपने अगर एजेंट अगर कोई भी इनवॉइस बना के सेल कर रहा है तो उससे प्रिंसिपल का कोई रिलेशन नहीं है।
मतलब इसका मतलब ऐसा हम लोग देख सकते हैं कि जब agent is raising his own invoice, it seems like as if principal is selling to agent and agent is further selling it to other person. Correct? So
Yes.
now whenever it is on means A's invoice on behalf of principal, then GST sees these two transactions differently. What two transactions? Principal to agent is a complete different transaction. So that way it will fall under supply, and agent to this agent invoice, now this will be treated as a different transaction. How? Principal to agent is a different sale, and this is, and we are talking about this region, that here it will be deemed supply. Correct?
यानी सर ये प्रिंसिपल जो है एजेंट को सप्लाई कर दिया वन टाइम, और फिर जो एजेंट जो है प्रिंसिपल के बिहाफ में सब सेल कर रहा है।
ये बिहाफ मत पकड़िए, आप ऐसे समझिए कि जो वो इनवॉइस इशू कर रहा है ना, वो किसके नाम का है। अगर वो प्रिंसिपल के नाम का है तब तो वो इस वाली कैटेगरी में आके पड़ता है, इस वाली कैटेगरी में। तब इसको कभी सप्लाई नहीं बोलेंगे, तब ऐसा समझा जाएगा कि प्रिंसिपल डायरेक्ट इसको माल बेच रहा है, एजेंट सिर्फ और सिर्फ एक एजेंट है जो इन दोनों को मिला रहा है।
ठीक है।
करेक्ट। लेकिन जब जब एजेंट अपने नाम पे बिल बनाना शुरू कर देगा ना, तो ऐसा समझा जाएगा कि प्रिंसिपल ने एक बिल बना के एजेंट को दिया, मतलब ये एक ट्रांजैक्शन है, और फिर एजेंट अपना इनवॉइस बना के आगे माल बेच रहा है। ऐसा लगेगा कि दो अलग अलग ट्रांजैक्शन है, बस यही है इसमें।
जस्ट लाइक CNF। सर
क्या?
सर ये डिस्टिंक्ट पर्सन वाले पैरामीटर में आता है क्या?
नहीं, इसमें डिस्टिंक्ट पर्सन है।
एक मिनट सर, ये प्रिंसिपल जो है ये इनवॉइस काट के सर वो एजेंट को दे दिया, एजेंट के पास स्टॉक चला गया। अब एजेंट जो है अपने बिहाफ से एजेंट अपने बिहाफ से इनवॉइस काट रहा है, तो वो इनवॉइस एजेंट का हो गया। और जो प्रिंसिपल जो एजेंट को दिया था, वे इनवॉइस को प्रिंसिपल इनवॉइस बोलेंगे जो एजेंट के पास पहुंचा है।
हाँ,
ठीक है सर।
correct. So now the next phase says that agent to principal. Correct. The next phase says that agent to principal. अब एजेंट टू प्रिंसिपल माल कैसे आ सकता है बताइए मुझे थोड़ा। प्रिंसिपल जब एजेंट को भेज रहा था, समझ में आ रहा था कि बेच रहा है। एजेंट प्रिंसिपल को माल कैसे उठा
आएगा? यदि बाहर से स्टॉक, आउट ऑफ इंडिया से स्टॉक आएगा तो एजेंट के पास ही आता है।
करेक्ट।
तब प्रिंसिपल को जाता है।
एजेंट हियर इज कलेक्टिंग गुड्स, करेक्ट, collecting goods and sending it to principal, करेक्ट। तो यहां पे क्या देखा जाएगा कि जो एजेंट जो प्रिंसिपल को इशू कर रहा है ना, ये क्या ओन इनवॉइस इशू कर रहा है? अगर ओन इनवॉइस इशू करेगा ना, तो इसको भी हम डीम्ड सप्लाई की कैटेगरी में ले लेंगे, करेक्ट। और अगर एजेंट माल उठाता ही है प्रिंसिपल के नाम पे, तो फिर अलग चीज है ना। इफ एजेंट इज प्रोक्यूरिंग द गुड्स ऑन प्रिंसिपल्स नेम, then that is a completely different thing. Here it won't be treated as supply, but agent is procuring goods on his own name, and then he is issuing to principal on his own name, on his own invoice, agent's invoice. Then it will be treated as deemed supply, and GST will be liable to pay GST. It will be deemed supply.
कौन सा सर GST? IGST या
वो बात की बात है, वो तो जब स्टेट पता चलेगा तब पता चलेगा ना, अभी तो स्टेट की बात ही नहीं हो रही। अब कौन से स्टेट में तो भगवान ही जानता है।
नहीं, ये स्टॉक तो आया आउट ऑफ इंडिया सर,
इसलिए वो आउट ऑफ इंडिया से आया तो फिर वो कस्टम ड्यूटी का पार्ट होगा, फिर ये प्रिंसिपल को भेजेगा तो देखना पड़ेगा ये कहाँ है, प्रिंसिपल कहाँ है। अलग अलग स्टेट में है तो IGST, सेम स्टेट में है तो फिर CGST, SGST, UT है तो CGST प्लस UT GST, वो तो बात की बात है। Correct. So this much is clear, correct? The third point is also done and dusted. Okay.
Yes, sir.
See, for the time being now, you may feel like that you are. I know that sometimes it sounds confusing, correct? Because you have not seen the full IDT what actually it is, correct? But don't worry. After the session ends, now go through this once or twice. Okay, I'm definitely very sure that you will get it. And after that also, if you do not get it, you know I'm always there. Okay, so the third point is done, which says that supply of goods from principal to agent, where agent undertakes to invoice, undertakes to supply such goods on behalf of principal, means own invoice, and from agent to principal, where agents to undertake receive such goods on behalf of principal. Correct? It is done. Okay. Now fourth point is what we have already read something related to it. See, import of service by a person. कहीं हमने पढ़ा import of service के बारे में पहले? अगर पढ़ा है तो क्या पढ़ा है? किसी को याद है?
यस सर,
क्या
इंपोर्ट ऑफ
पढ़ा?
सर्विस होता है सर। इंपोर्ट ऑफ सर्विस होता है कि यदि हमको यहाँ पर कोई मकान बनाना सर, आर्किटेक्ट का हमको
नहीं नहीं
जरूरत
नहीं नहीं नहीं, हम ये नहीं पूछ रहे हैं कि इंपोर्ट ऑफ सर्विस है क्या। हमने पहले इंपोर्ट ऑफ सर्विस से रिलेटेड कुछ पढ़ा हुआ है?
नहीं सर, नहीं पड़ा।
क्या बात कर, प्रियंका, सुमित?
सर वो कल एक बताया था ना, वो मलेशिया वाला कौन सर्विस जो वो एक म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन को किसी चीज के लिए
नहीं
दिया
नहीं
था।
नहीं, उसकी बात नहीं। इंपोर्ट ऑफ सर्विस से रिलेटेड हमने एक पॉइंट और पढ़ा है। रुचि, आप बता सकती हैं क्या इंपोर्ट ऑफ सर्विस से रिलेटेड हमने क्या पढ़ा है?
मिनरल एक्सप्लोरेशन वाला शायद कुछ।
नहीं,
सर एक बार फिर से क्वेश्चन पूछिए ना।
इंपोर्ट ऑफ सर्विस यहाँ पे एक है। इससे पहले क्या हमने इंपोर्ट ऑफ सर्विस पढ़ा हुआ है शेड्यूल 1 से पहले?
नो सर।
हमने यहाँ इंपोर्ट ऑफ
Import?
सर्विस नहीं पढ़ा। 7(1)(b) import of service for consideration whether or not in course or furtherance of business। पढ़ा ना हमने इंपोर्ट से रिलेटेड ऑलरेडी एक जगह। हमने ऑलरेडी एट
तो
वन
हम
प्लेस
लोग को सर उसमें मतलब आपने ये बताया था कि अगर आउट ऑफ इंडिया से सामान अगर मंगवाना है तब।
नहीं, मैं सिर्फ इतना पूछ रहा था कि इंपोर्ट ऑफ सर्विस से रिलेटेड कुछ हमने पहले पढ़ा है कि इस पॉइंट को मैं सुनना चाह रहा था, आपको याद है कि? Okay, so now in entry 4 na we are again going to read about something import of service, and before this only we have already read import of service as an exception to furtherance of business condition, correct? Where import of service for consideration whether or not in course or furtherance of business will be treated as supply. Okay, now the next point says that import of service by a person from related person। याद है ना रिलेटेड पर्सन क्या था?
Yes, sir.
legally recognized person, correct? Legally recognized partner, officers or directors in one other office, family members, correct? Sole agent, joint venture,
Employer,
holding
employee.
subsidiary, employer तो out of purview है।
बट
then
सर
also
एक और चीज डाउट था, एम्प्लॉयर एंड एम्प्लॉय में ऑन द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बेसिस में भी तो होता है ना।
हाँ, तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बेसिस तो अलग चीज है ना। अब मैं एकदम प्योर एम्प्लॉयर एम्प्लॉय रिलेशनशिप की बात कर रहा हूँ।
ओके।
Okay, so import of service by a person from related person, those one, and from any of his other establishment outside India, मतलब distinct person in the course or furtherance of business, then also it will be deemed to be supply. Correct. Now if I go here and now I say that import of service, correct? I'm framing 3 points. Consideration is there, okay, plus furtherance of business is there. Correct? Will it be supply? Import of service
sir.
for consideration in the furtherance of business. Is it a
Yes.
supply?
यस सर।
Correct. It is a supply. Now next point. There is consideration. There is consideration, but there is no furtherance of business. Will it be a supply?
सप्लाई सर, सप्लाई।
Supply. अगर मैं सेक्शन पूछूं तो कोई बता सकता है?
7B।
7(1)(b).
बी 1 नहीं आता सर, बट 7B, हाँ 7(1)(b), यस 1B।
1B. Okay, now next, no consideration. Okay, no furtherance of business. बताइए
नॉट
क्या
एज अ
होगा?
सप्लाई।
सप्लाई सप्लाई सर, सप्लाई सप्लाई, ये भी सप्लाई होगा,
एक मिनट।
ये भी सप्लाई होगा।
बट सर इम्पोर्ट कर रहे तो इट वाज सप्लाई।
नहीं नहीं
नहीं,
नहीं,
कंसिडरेशन भी नहीं है, फर्दरेंस ऑफ बिजनेस भी नहीं है,
सप्लाई
रिलेटेड
सर,
पर्सन,
सप्लाई सप्लाई होगा,
रिलेटेड
चाहे वो,
सर
रिलेटेड
नॉट
पर्सन भी नहीं है।
हाँ वो सप्लाई होगा सर।
अच्छा, इसको
फिर
इसको
भी
होल्ड, इसको होल्ड रखिए। एक बार मैं एक
हम्म,
चीज और पूछता हूँ। कंसिडरेशन नहीं है, फर्दरेंस है, प्लस रिलेटेड पर्सन, ये क्या होगा? व्हाट इट विल बी?
सप्लाई।
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 तो ये क्या होगा?
वो भी सप्लाई होगा सर।
कैसे?
सर इम्पोर्ट कर रहे हैं ना,
तो
दैट्स व्हाई।
तो
इम्पोर्ट अगर वेदर इन द नॉट इन द कंसिडरेशन, मतलब कंसिडरेशन के कोर्स में आएगा या फिर फर्दर के बिजनेस के भी में नहीं
नहीं
आएगा
नहीं
तो भी
नहीं नहीं,
सप्लाई होगा।
दिस इज रॉन्ग, दिस इज ओनली रॉन्ग। See, first import of service may not, may be, import of service for consideration may be or may not be in the course or furtherance of business is a supply, like this point, correct? But whenever import of service is not for consideration, it has to be for furtherance of business, plus it has to be related person or distinct person, then it will be supply. If no consideration, no furtherance of business, no related person, nothing, then it cannot be a supply.
बट सर इम्पोर्ट अट्रैक्ट जीएसटी ना।
उसकी बात ही नहीं कर रहा हूं, वो तो अलग सेक्शन में जाके फिर टैक्स होता है, वो सप्लाई नहीं बनता है। मैं इसकी बात कर रहा हूं, मैं अभी इसकी बात कर रहा हूं कि ये सप्लाई है, ये तो सप्लाई ही नहीं है, ये सप्लाई ही नहीं है।
ओके।
सी दिस okay, supply if it is between related person with consideration, then normally supply हो जाता है, correct? with without consideration but related person, 7(1)(c) schedule 1, correct? Between non-related parties with consideration, हाँ normally, but non-related person party no consideration, then no supply. ठीक है? ये here we just check the parameter. Now see, import of service for consideration, okay, in the course or furtherance of business, then definitely import of service, but for consideration may not be in the course or furtherance of business, then 7(1)(b), कंसिडरेशन हो लेकिन बिजनेस हो चाहे ना हो, करेक्ट? अब इसमें आइए, जब कंसिडरेशन नहीं है लेकिन कोर्स और फर्दरेंस ऑफ बिजनेस में प्लस रिलेटेड और डिस्टिंक्ट पर्सन है, तभी ये सप्लाई है, करेक्ट? लेकिन कंसिडरेशन भी नहीं है और फर्दरेंस भी नहीं है, तो सप्लाई भी नहीं है।
सर
बट
ये
सर
जो
आपने
ये
दे वहां पे ये भी नहीं बोला था रिलेटेड पर्सन है और नहीं है
बोला
डिस्टिंक्ट
था,
पर्सन।
मैंने बोला था, सब बोला था आप, आपने सुना नहीं
कहाँ
होगा,
बोला
मैंने
था?
बोला
इस
था।
वाले में नहीं बोला था सर आपने।
अच्छा बाबा, नहीं बोला था, ठीक है। हाँ पूछिए सुमित।
सर जो अभी दिखा रहे थे उसमें यस वाला क्या एग्जाम्पल वो सेट होता है वेस्ट बंगाल और दिल्ली वाला?
मुझे याद ही नहीं है मैंने क्या बोला था।
अभी आपने कुछ देर पहले बताया था ना कि एक वेस्ट बंगाल का रजिस्ट्रेशन एक ही ए लिमिटेड के
नहीं नहीं,
पास है।
कहाँ, ये तो
ए,
इंपोर्ट ऑफ सर्विस की बात हो रही है, कहाँ आप दो डिस्टिंक्ट पर्सन को ले आ रहे हैं? मतलब डिस्टिंक्ट
अच्छा,
पर्सन का पूछ रहे हैं क्या?
हाँ मतलब उस हिसाब से पूछ रहे हैं
नहीं नहीं,
कि यस
डिस्टिंक्ट
में हम
पर्सन यहाँ,
नो में नहीं पूछ रहे, यस में पूछ रहे हैं।
नहीं नहीं नहीं, यहाँ डिस्टिंक्ट पर्सन का तो डेफिनेशन ही अलग है ना, ऊपर देखिए, सी हियर, एनी ऑफिस एस्टेब्लिशमेंट आउटसाइड इंडिया, तभी तो इंपोर्ट ऑफ सर्विस होगा ना। विद इन इंडिया को एस्टेब्लिशमेंट से मंगाएंगे तो इंपोर्ट ऑफ सर्विस थोड़ी ना होगा फिर।
इम्पोर्ट यस।
करेक्ट, इंपोर्ट है ना, तो बाहर से आना पड़ेगा, इसीलिए यहाँ पे इस डिस्टिंक्ट पर्सन का डेफिनेशन ही है फ्रॉम एनी ऑफिस अदर एस्टेब्लिशमेंट आउटसाइड इंडिया, इंडिया के बाहर मेरा कोई एस्टेब्लिशमेंट है, करेक्ट? सो लेट्स रिकैप क्विक, इंपोर्ट ऑफ सर्विस for consideration, for furtherance of business, it is always supply, okay? Import of service for consideration may or may not be for furtherance of business, that is a supply, correct? Import of service for no consideration in the course or furtherance of business plus from related person or distinct person, then it is a supply, correct? But import of service neither consideration, neither furtherance of business, nor related party, not distinct person, then it is not a supply. Clear है ये point? Is this table 1, schedule 1 clear to you all or not? बताइए.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Clear,
So let's
clear, sir.
So let's recap schedule 1 now. So schedule 1, here what actually we are reading, activities which are specified made without consideration will also be considered as deemed supply. So first entry was permanent disposal or transfer of business asset on which ITC has been availed. Correct? We saw the example कि ITC avail हो तभी होगा, नहीं तो नहीं होगा. Next one was supply of goods or services or both between related person or distinct person in the course or furtherance of business. Correct? Related person क्या है? Definition is there. Distinct person अपनी ही establishment लेकिन अलग state में with different registration. Correct? Third one was principal to agent or agent to principal, where principal undertake to supply or receive goods on behalf of principal. Correct? And fourth one was import of service by a person from related person or any of his establishment outside India in the course or furtherance of business. Yes. Clear है ना इतना?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Now we'll quickly move on to the examples, but I don't think any example is there. Okay, now example is there. Okay. Any person directly or indirectly owns, controls, or holds 25% or more of the outstanding voting stocks or shares or both of them. Messrs. Beta and Company holds 30,000 shares in Messrs. A Limited and 25,000 shares in B Limited. The capital कितना है? 1 lakh equity shares of 10 each. Share capital of B is 80,000 equity shares of 10 each. करेक्ट. तो इसमें पहले हमको स्टेक कैलकुलेट करना पड़ेगा. करेक्ट. तो मिस्टर बीटा कितने होल्ड कर रहे हैं? इन ए लिमिटेड में 30,000. कितना था? 1 लाख था. So it is more than 25%. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Now next, in B Limited, he holds 25%, 25,000. And what was capital? It was 80,000. So again, it is more than 25%.
So
Correct?
A and B.
So what actually is happening? Messrs. Beta is holding both A and B. Correct? So a third party controls both of them is a distinct person. Sorry, related person. So A and B itself, they will be
Is a
related.
related person.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Next one. Reliable Group has 3 companies, namely T Limited, L Limited, and O Limited as a group of company, and Messrs. Reliable Limited as a parent company. Correct? Reliable holds Limited holds 25% of shares in each group of the company. Correct? So all 3 T, L, and O all will be considered as related person. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Correct, sir. Related person, sir.
Correct. Next one. Ravi and Company, a CMA firm employer who represents his employee before the income tax authority, but does not charge any professional fee in respect of the same. Is it a supply liable to GST? Yes, क्योंकि वो अपनी एम्प्लॉय को लेके जा रहा है. करेक्ट.
सर उस क्वेश्चन को एक बार फिर से करेंगे सर. क्वेश्चन
Ravi and Company, a CMA firm, okay, employer who represent his employee before the income tax authority. अपने एम्प्लॉय के लिए रवि एंड कंपनी कहीं पे प्रोफेशनल सर्विसेज दे रहा है लेकिन फीस नहीं ले रहा है. करेक्ट. तो ये तो टैक्सेबल होगा ना. रिलेटेड पर्सन एम्प्लॉय. Okay. Employee and employer. Service provided by employee to the employer in the course of employment. Correct? अगर in the course of employment है और regular basis पे है तो no GST. Correct? लेकिन अगर contract basis पे है, okay, if he is in contract basis but employed by the company himself has taken him on contract, then also
जीएसटी देना पड़ेगा दोनों केस में।
so देखिए अगर see the mainly thing remains over here is that if it is in the course of employment, no GST, correct, maybe contract basis, maybe regular basis, लेकिन if it is a contract basis but by employed by a contractor, then GST will be there, correct. And any services provided by the employee to the employer not in the course of business will always attract GST, correct. Now suppose for example, okay, in my company there was a cultural fest was there, okay, and मान लीजिए सुमित मेरे कंपनी में एक एम्प्लॉय है, he is an employee and he cooks well. So what I ask him, I ask Sumit, can you cook for the fest? So he says that, sir, I'll cook, but I'll charge something. Correct. Is his job was to cook in my company? No. So it is not in the course of his employment. Correct. So on these transactions, so whatever service Sumit will provide to me, okay, that will attract GST. Correct. But suppose for example, I have hired Sumit, okay, and his work is to day-to-day accounts, correct. Now if I give him day-to-day accounts, will that service that Sumit is providing it to me, will that be chargeable to tax, GST? No, it won't be. Why? Because it is in the course of employment, correct. Easy one.
यानी सर
just
जो
you have
यानी
to
सर
see. हाँ पूछिए
सर जो कंपनी है, मेरा कंपनी है, मेरे कंपनी में कोई डायरेक्ट एम्प्लॉय है तो उसके ऊपर जीएसटी नहीं लगेगा। लेकिन
नहीं,
यदि मैं किसी कॉन्ट्रैक्टर के थ्रू रखा हूं तो उस कॉन्ट्रैक्टर का इनवॉइस जो रेज होगा उस पर वो जीएसटी लगेगा। लेकिन यदि कोई मेरा एम्प्लॉय डायरेक्ट नहीं होके कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के बेस पर है उस पर भी जीएसटी नहीं लगेगा।
नहीं लगेगा अगर आपने ही कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बेसिस पे लिया है तो।
हाँ, हमने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बेसिस पर लिया है तो जीएसटी नहीं लगेगा। मेरा डायरेक्ट एम्प्लॉय है तो जीएसटी नहीं लगेगा। लेकिन मैंने किसी कॉन्ट्रैक्टर को पकड़ा है और वे एम्प्लॉय मेरे को प्रोवाइड करा मेरी कंपनी में, देन जीएसटी रेज करेगा वो अपना बिल को।
करेक्ट
मतलब किसी थर्ड पार्टी के थ्रू।
करेक्ट
यस, कंसल्टेंसी।
Okay. The example, Ram has received a sum of 5 lakh from his employer on premature termination of his contract of employment. Ram needs your advice as whether such receipt is liable to GST. Premature termination नहीं लगेगा क्योंकि ये टर्मिनेशन वाला अमाउंट ये सबको मिलता है, करेक्ट। ये एम्प्लॉयर जब छोड़ता है तो इतना मिलता है, तो इट इज नॉट कवर्ड। ओके। Mr. Raju and employee provides his service on contract basis to an associate company of Vikram Enterprise, the employer. The above activity is being carried out in a lieu of specific monetary consideration. Is it supply? If so, who is liable to pay? बताइए।
आएगा सर इसमें, क्योंकि कॉन्ट्रैक्टर है वो प्रोवाइड कर रहा है एम्प्लॉय को, इसलिए इसमें वो जो बिल रेज करेगा कंपनी को जीएसटी लगा के रेज करेगा।
करेक्ट। Salary paid to partner by partnership firm is liable to GST?
No.
Definitely not.
पार्टनरशिप में कभी नहीं लगता सर। एक पार्टनर से दूसरे पार्टनरशिप को देगा, फर्म में लगता ही नहीं।
करेक्ट। Now see, मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर क्या होता है? एम्प्लॉय होता है?
यस सर, वन टाइम एम्प्लॉय होता है।
बताइए।
नहीं सर, मास्टर नहीं होता है ना।
मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर से वन टाइम एम्प्लॉय होता है सर।
होता है।
यस सर, होता है।
Okay, correct this. Managing director is an employee, so no GST. Whole time director?
नहीं सर, एम्प्लॉय नहीं होता। होल टाइम होता है।
Whole time is an employer.
अच्छा, नहीं सॉरी।
Whole time director is an employee, so no GST because he is an employee. Executive director is also an employee, so no GST. But non-executive director or independent or nominee director, they are not the employee. They are on contractual basis. So yes, GST is liable to be paid, and company will be paying the GST on reverse charge mechanism. Okay, because here, suppose this independent director is providing services to company, correct? So company will pay him the what shall be the actual way? Company should pay him the salary or say whatever fee plus GST, correct? Normal charge.
Yes, sir.
But actually it will be reverse charge. Company will be paying the GST to the government. Correct? I just
सर
explained it a bit regarding the
रेम्यूनरेशन वाले में आता कुछ था ना, रेम्यूनरेशन पे करता है,
किसका
होता है ना कि डायरेक्टर को रेम्यूनरेशन पे किया जाता है।
वो सिटिंग फी होता है,
ओके,
सिटिंग फी। Okay, distinct percent. Okay, we have already discussed. Now it will be your work to read it once. Okay, everything is whatever I've discussed now. Everything is given in this ebook. Okay, just read it once. Everything will be clear to you. Okay, now next whatever the examples are there, na, we'll continue tomorrow, and tomorrow we'll go through schedule 2 as well. Not tomorrow, in the next session. Okay, so we'll keep it up to here only, and then we'll start again in the next session from schedule 2 and few more examples. So till then, your work will be to that. Go through whatever you have done. Okay, read it from the mat. Okay, the mat which I have provided, go through that mat. Okay, and in case of any doubt, feel free to ping me. We'll discuss it out. Okay, at first you might feel like that you are not getting anything, but if you go through it once or twice, it's my guarantee that you will definitely get it. And if you do not, then no worries, I'm always there. Okay, so with that, I'll end the session here. We'll see you in the next session. Bye-bye. Thank you everyone for joining.